Hello, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're connecting from. I'm excited tonight, and we are in Morning Matters Live this evening. And as I want to welcome everyone, all our guests and our guests and our viewers, thank you for joining us on this show. And but before I bring in our guests, I'd like to just introduce what the show is all about. Money Matters Live is where it's a movement that enlightens and try to coach us on financial literacy, which is actually not taught in the school, but that we get financial literate. And just as God wants us to live richer and above boards, we need to also learn the techniques for money and the process how to make money, manage money, and multiply money. And today we have a guest who will be talking to us on how to go about this. I want you to sit back and get inspired. But before I go into the show, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Sandra Ukoh. I'm a Maxwell Leadership Certified Team Member, Coach, and Speaker. I'm also a member of the Toastmaster and IT Sales Expert of over 20 years, and also a best-selling author. And today we have Dolapo, Akinropo, Christy. She's into real estate. But before I bring her on board, I'd like to read our resume. So welcome. It's our desire that we get to know how to make money, how to manage money, and how to multiply money. And God's plan for everyone is that we live above boards, that we live a richer life, that we live a wealthy life, and that we be an impact in our world. And that's why we need to learn what are the techniques and the processes on how to make money, manage it, and also invest money, and also be an impact, a positive impact in our world. And today we have a coach who will be speaking and taking us down. Dolapo Christy Akinropo has a BSc in biology and physiology. I was making a mistake. I was saying Adiropo. I'm so sorry. It's Akinropo. She has a BSc in biology and physiology. She's a real estate broker at Leaders Realty. A brokerage she founded 2 decades ago. She's married and together they have 2 daughters. Christy's agency, which is a Leaders Reality, began with her as the only employee, but today she's a broker with 10 agents. And in this extremely competitive market, she's constantly dealing with a plethora of competitive interests, competing interests, loan officers, lenders, client agents, attorneys. Christy continues to close successful deals, guided by our faith and the knowledge that stressing about things that are out of one's control is detrimental to one's health. That means, you don't get stressed about things you cannot change. Christy is the first and the foremost a person of faith. She credits her success to God's grace and favor in her life. Secondly, she knows that hard work is essential for a business to grow. She does not have the luxury of a 40-hour week as she strives to be readily available to her clients. So, Christy, success is less than a priceless home, but more about finding the home that works best for the client's residential and financial needs. For her, it is always clients before commission. That's awesome, putting the customers first. And that's the reason why we're in business, honoring the customers and putting them in their rightful place. And tonight we have no other person than Christy herself joining us today. Hello, Ma. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Great to have you.
It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, it's all over to you right now. The floor is yours.
Okay.
Starting a business, everything you need to know before starting a business.
Okay, well, thank you. Thanks for giving me this platform. Hello, everybody. Evening, morning, afternoon, everywhere. As she said, my name is Dolapo Christy Akinropo, and I am the broker at Leaders Realty. So I'm in the real estate business, but then what I'm going to talk to you about today can be applied to any business that you intend to have. So starting a business can be, if with a good with a good research, it can be a successful one. And if you don't have a good foundation, it could go wrong. So in US, I'm in the US, so all what I'll be talking about will be modeled after a US business. And we know that in the US, most businesses don't survive past the first 2 years. Only, only 20% would, 20% of it won't survive past the first 2 years. And that's because we don't plan well. We see someone else getting into a business and you see that person making money and you're like, you know what? That's a good business, and people jump into it. And because I'm
True.
in the real estate industry, I do have quite a few clients, and they come to me, either they've just relocated into Atlanta market or from different part of the world. I have a client from London who said, they would like to start a business. And I said, what would you like to do? And they said they wanted to go into the trucking business. And I said, can you drive a truck? They said no. And I told him, and this is what I know from my other client, that these truck drivers, when you get them, if they feel like you're not doing what they want or they just want to put you in trouble, they'll drop your truck in Michigan and tell you, oh, I quit, and you have a delivery to make. And if somebody quits at that time, so you have to either fly there, find another trucker. So I tell people, whatever business you want to get into, conduct a market research. Don't go into it because your best friend is in it and it seems like your best friend is doing well. Don't go to it because your pastor, because we tend, in an African community, we tend to listen to our pastor. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying don't, but whatever you do, you have to do your market research. Find out what that business is about. Find out if that business is for you. So that's the first thing we do before going into any type of business. Do your research and find out if that's what you would like to do. And then once you do that, I say write a business plan. Now, when people hear business plan, they get really scared. Oh my God, thousands of pages. How do I do this? You can break it. You can do a one-page business plan. So most of the things that I tell my agent or anyone who's trying to get into business, I make it a one page. So your goals are one page, your business plan are one page, and from that one page you can develop it. And what it's your business plan about? It's the why are you getting into the business? How are you going to get it? How you're going to run the business, and what other questions? What you will model your business after. That's what a business plan is. And you just keep it simple. Like I said, one page. Why? Why do you want to do this business? What is the product or the service you're offering? So I'm in real estate, so I offer a service. I tell people I cannot sell anything to save my life. If you give me anything to sell, well, they'll be
But you can
gone.
sell real estate.
I can put yes. I can sell. I'm good at services. So that's mine. So I don't tell me to sell Melaleuca, don't tell me to sell Mary Kay, don't tell me to sell Pomo, don't tell me to sell anything. But I provide good services. So that's where my strength is. You have to kind of find out what your strength is.
Yeah.
If you give me product to sell, yes, I'll sell them. And if people say, oh, we'll pay you later, I'm not going to ask you for money. I don't do that. So someone like me wouldn't be good in retail. So you have to know what is it that you're providing, product or service, and who is your target customer. Are you targeting a certain demographic? Are you targeting male? Are you targeting female? It says jack of all trade, master to
Of
none,
none.
and that's kind of my model. So have your target customer and how. That's kind of where that business plan really focuses. How do you plan to go about all of these things? So this is what should be in your business plan, and that should get you going. So now in the US, if If you so you start with your conducting your market research, you have your business plan, and then have your money. Business takes money. You have to make sure you are able to survive just in case something goes wrong. You should have at least 6 months. If you can, a year will be good, but at least 6 months of your bills saved somewhere so that when the business hasn't started with revenue, you will have money. You don't stress, because if you have to stress about paying your bills, there's no way you'll be able to focus on your business very well. So I say you should have at least 6 months reserve. It'll be good if you can have a year reserve so that you can focus on the growth of that business. Make sure you
Yeah.
have your money. And then, of course, we talk about location. So in real estate, location. That's the thing about real estate. If you're if you're getting into investment, it's all about location. The location is what determines the price. So here in Atlanta, the Georgia area, if you go to downtown or if you're closer to the city, the price of the homes will be more expensive. Same size home, same maybe even same builder, two different prices because of the location. So when you're getting into business, you have to find out what location would you be. I had a client call me and wanted me to look for a store for them, an African store. So they found the location. They were going to go into contract, and I said, "Have you done your market analysis? Have you done the visibility studies? You want to open an African store? How many Africans are in this area? How many people, even if they don't live there, how many can drive to your location? How many African stores do they already have around?" They're like, "Oh, I don't know. I didn't think about it." So you have to do your visibility studies. Please don't get into business just because you know someone who is making lots of money. And we Africans, we like money. So anything when we hear lots of money, oh, we're running there. So please do your visibility studies. Make sure that location is going to work. Location is paramount. um, I mean, I can give many examples. Sometimes you may have to pay a little more to be at a prime location, but then being at a prime location will also mean you get your money back quickly, as opposed to taking something cheaper where you're not visible. So that's why the location is extremely important. And then here in the US, we have different business structures. So you have an incorporation, you have a limited liability business, which is what we call the LLC. And then of course the sole proprietorship. It doesn't have any designation to it. It just means you're the sole owner, you're the one operating it. It's pretty much a one person's business for in the beginning. But if you're going to start, like we discussed, what's your plan? What do you want to see in this business? Will help you determine if you should do an LLC or an incorporation. I would tell people to talk to a tax advisor, but the little I do know about LLC or incorporation is usually for bigger companies. And when you start, it automatically puts you into a C corp, which means you're taxed higher at the federal level. But at some point, you can switch to an S corp, which gives you cheaper tax rate with the federal government. Now, the LLC is the limited liability company, which is extremely common for small businesses, where all your assets, your business assets, are separated from your personal assets. So, God forbid something were to happen and somebody wants to come after you, they can only come after the assets of the business, not the person. And same thing with incorporation, but just incorporation, the way they're taxed, it's a bit different. So I'll tell you to do a little more research on that, but you have to decide what business structure would you like, LLC, incorporation, and Once you settle on that, you should have a business name. You want your name, you want your business name to be unique. You want it to be catchy. You know, you don't want it to be Dolapo Christy, Akinropo Real Estate. I mean, that's long.
True.
You want you want it to be catchy. I mean, depending on your goal, which is why that business plan, why, how, who, what, it's important. When I started with Leaders Realty, of course, I started with just me, but I want it. I know that I want it to be a global company. So, and there's nothing wrong with saying Akinropo Real Estate or Dolapo Real Estate, but that's just me, what I wanted. And when I designed my logo, it wasn't a structure of the house structure sign where when you say it's a house realty. With that, I wanted a company that could be an umbrella to many other things. So in real estate, we have the property management aspect, we have insurance aspect, you can have loan officer. What else do we have? Several things. So I want a name that could be universal. So right now we have Leaders Realty and we have Leaders Management. At some point, by the grace of God, we would have Leaders Insurance. We will have Leaders loan company.
Yeah.
So different things. So you think about how you want your business to go. Don't think about just today or maybe the next 2 years. Think global, think big. And that's how I've been in this business about 20 years, and I'm yet to have the insurance aspect of it. But by God's grace, at some point, if I have more strength, I'll add that. But pick a name that is unique, pick a name that people will remember, and come up with a nice logo. And when it comes to logo design, I believe it should be simple. Something that maybe can show what your product is, but also pick a logo that can go onto different marketing material on a cup or different marketing material. But if it's so complex, I remember when we're designing our logo, the designer came up with a lion, and I'm like, okay. And the lion will go different places. I'm like, okay, no. And of course, there are companies who have different animals, but I had to think of something that would be simple, because the more complex it is, the more expensive it will be for me. And as we grow, we can always rebrand, but pick something simple, pick a name that is unique, and also fashion a logo that will work with that. And then here in America, you want to register your business. You want to make sure you have a registered business. So if you're conducting business somehow and it's not registered, you're just there. That business doesn't exist. And then during the time when we had the pandemic, where businesses were being assisted, if those businesses were not registered with the Secretary of State, it doesn't exist. It doesn't matter. So you want to make sure that your business is registered, not only register yearly, that you have to renew your business registration yearly. If you don't, they'll write you a few letters, and then after a while, the business will cease to exist. And if somebody wants that name, guess what? When you come back, that name will no longer be there. So
Somebody else will
before you
pick it.
even yes, even before you start operation, make sure you register with the Georgia Secretary of State. It's quite inexpensive, for less than 150. You have a registered business, and then you can get your tax ID. So tax ID is important. And when you get your tax ID, sometimes they will send you this scary envelope that says you have to pay a certain amount quarterly. All you have to do is call them. Just, if your business hasn't really started picking up, then you can just call them and say, hey, this is where we are. We don't have the revenue to give IRS or Georgia
I
IRS
mean, the state where you are.
revenue, yes, any money. So, but you want to have those things in place. You want to make sure you're registered in your state and you have your tax ID. So there's a tax ID and your state tax ID. But once you get your tax ID, well, in Georgia, then you get a state assigned to you. And so we have, then you apply for your local licenses. So if you're whatever county you're in, so we have Fulton County, Gwinnett County, Clayton County, everybody's business license is different. You go make sure you apply in that county where your business is registered. So that's pretty much how you get started, with any type of business. And then you start building.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. But I want to also find out, how did you commence your business here? Now that you've told us how to go about it, what
Yes.
are the challenges you encountered when starting? And how did you weather through the storm? How did you put it together for these 20 years? And you're still, looking up to, branching out to other subsidiaries.
Yes. So for any successful business, giving good service or good product will last. So my business has grown based on referral. One person is happy, they tell another. Another person is happy, they tell another. So I'm very big on the type of service I provide. Our motto is exceeding expectations, and I tell my staff that that exceeding expectation is not just a piece of writing that I put in there. It's what
Mm,
we do, and that's what we have to put in. So I remind them every day that we're not leaders just because it's a name. It's what we want to project. So for to stay relevant, you keep giving your best. That's my motto. So our core values include integrity, transparency, trust. Those are things that any human, black, white, purple, can relate to. Once people feel comfortable with you or trust you, there's no way they won't come back to you. So
mm,
our business is based on referral, and for your business to be good or to be maybe successful, there has to be some element of consistency. There has to be consistency. You push and you push. When it's slow, you don't give up. Um, when it's busy, you don't give us shabby work. So we've been able to stay relevant in the industry because we didn't give up. So I was in the industry during the 2008 real estate crash, and a lot of real estate agents had to go find other jobs. They had to go into different profession, but to God's grace, was able to stick in, and it wasn't easy. There's no easy money, so
not at all.
everybody wants easy money. Even and I tell my children, I said, even if you're selling water, if you're going to sell water and you're going to be successful, it's going to take work. It's going to take work. What makes you stand out? How consistent are you with that job? So I have finally resolved within me that there's no easy money. It's just and it's money that lasts. It's not easy. So
Right.
you work hard at it, and pretty much just reinventing yourself too. Go with the flow. So when I started real estate, we used to use fax machines to communicate with our client. We didn't even have emails.
Wow.
Emails, yes. So we use a fax machine, send it, and then emails came, and then DocuSign where you could sign online. We were thinking, is this real? Can we use this? Can we not? And now you can sign your document on the phone. You have to be ready to reinvent yourself. You have to be ready to learn. There's Instagram now. Lord have mercy. So you have to be able to keep up. If not,
Social media.
yes, there's social media, there's a lot out there. So you have to be willing to learn. So it's important to it's important to be ready to learn and to stay relevant in any industry, you know. So if you have a supermarket and in that supermarket the shelves you use is a certain way, if after a while they have different type of shelves, be ready to spend money. I say you use money to find money, so it's an adage in my language. Be ready to spend. Don't say, in our office we just change our floors because the floors there were good, but it looked old. So we're old to us, maybe not to people, but
True.
there's something about this new floors that it's bright and it's welcoming. And there we go. So be ready to spend money to just keep. It's not only about money coming in. There's something about atmosphere that helps. So
And
um
that's true. If you have the right ambience, people
yes,
will be drawn to you.
yes. So that's it.
So I think before we start, we go further. Let's just take a water break.
Okay.
Are you thinking of how to publish your book on Amazon or how to get your published book to become an Amazon bestseller book? Dip Insight Books is the perfect in-between solution in transforming your ideas into a book. We can help you with all the complicated parts of publishing such as process TO transformation. What we do: full manuscript evaluation, receive quality assurance edit, full copy edit and final proofread to remove spelling and grammar mistakes, oversee your cover design, create your interior layout, publish and distribute your book, lock down your marketing strategy. Ghostwriting, where there is no manuscript. Our goal is to help you publish your book promptly. Contact us today at 404-740-9091. Email us at info@dipinsightworld.com. To start the submission process, check us out at www.books.dipinsightworld.com and submit your details. You can visit our Facebook page at Dip Insight World.
Thank you so much. Welcome back.
Yes,
Like you
ma'am.
rightly said, keeping the business simple and ensuring that you have, the right resources and location, as you rightly said, that, you use money to find money. So sometimes you have to reinvent yourself, to be a par with what is going on. Otherwise, you'll be left behind. So in order to be, to go with the trend, we have to reinvent ourselves, know what is going on. But I think you also mentioned social media. There's a lot of social media now, and you have to, learn those new things. We let from facts to emails, and emails now we can use phone to do a lot of sign up of anything on the go. So I want to also find out how, in setting up a business, such that when you're not there, can the business operate on its own? What structure do you need to put in place? Because I know that a lot of times people say if you're not present in your business, do not give the person your business to somebody to manage. So what are the structures that you are put in place such that you can go on vacation and business is still going on?
Okay. So having the right team, it's the key to being able to have a business, not the business having you. So we say something, do you own the business or does the business own you? So
Mm.
if you can go on vacation, you can take a break, that business owns you. But if you can do any of those things, that means you own a business. So having the right team is extremely important. For me, we were big on processes. So you should have your process and your process should be documented, systems and processes. Once
Yeah.
you have a good system and processes in place, then that majority of your work is done. So if somebody quits, they can always go back to that system or that process and be able to continue. But having that team, it's important. So I have an operation manager, I have a renter manager, I have an office manager. They all have their role. So everybody will have who to report to, and I speak mostly with my operation manager. She speaks with the rest of them, and then I'm available to every other one, but the key things that we do, our structures, our planning, I we discuss with our operation manager. But having a good team in place is important, and taking time to train that person. So you have your right hand person, that person that knows how you like your business to be structured. Even though it's written on paper,
Yeah.
they should still be able to say, okay, Christy would do it this way, or Christy's not going to do it that way. So being able to have someone that you trust is important. But and how does that even come about? It's by having training. So we have training. I have a transaction coordinator who's worked with us for a few years now. And in a couple weeks we're gonna have a training. So we're going to go over the process, same thing that you're doing, what can we do better? So constant training so that it's not just, oh, this is how we do it, or this is how we did it 2 years ago, but things are constantly evolving. So making sure you train your members. If you train them and you have a good system and process in place, and not just in place, but documented, it has to be documented, then you should be able to go somewhere, go travel, or even go to another country. You know, I had a client call me and they were asking if they should take an assignment in another country and what would happen to their business. So I said, okay, don't sell your business yet. Get a good manager and let's see how that works. So having a good manager, it's key in being able to run a business. But then before you have that good manager, it will mean that you've trained them, because how can they be good at your business if you've not trained them?
Key. That's very key. You just said it. Having a system in place, having a process, then having to train your staff to, to meet the standard. And, training is what you have to do because you have to bring them at par. Like I read today, just like I didn't know you were going to mention system. He said system is a process or predictable way of working such that you have a standard. Whether A or B or C comes, they act the same way. And it's like I've been to an eatery where I found out that every day I go to eat their food there, the food is the same. And that's because they have a system in place.
Yeah.
They have a process. For a side business where you get food, there are no process or a system which they follow in doing that business. So it becomes difficult for you to get the same thing you eat today, tomorrow, and even
Yes.
the day after. But when you go to a store that has a proper structure and a process, you find out that what you eat today is exactly the same thing you eat tomorrow. And there is a
That's right.
process. Like you rightly said, it's a predictable way of doing things in an orderly manner that things has to be the same. When you want to measure, you have same measurements and same way. There's also the word that says team works, make the dream works. So if your team are properly trained, they're able to work that business even in your absence. So you must get your team to a certain level that they can act like Christy, such that when Christy is not around, the services anybody get from leaders reactor would be the same that Christy would also prefer because over time you've rubbed off on them.
Yes.
Constant training, you've been able to pour yourself into them. So, and oftentimes, one of the key things any organization, any business must engage in is your training, ensuring that your people understand the vision, the mission, and the processes and the systems in doing the business. And
Yeah.
letting them know that okay, when there are issues, what do you do? Who should be your core person when you have an issue, so that consistently, whether you're there or not there, the business itself can run it on its own. Like you rightly said, you either own the business or the business owns you. So the business you own, that means you're in control. You have the processes and everything put in place. And again, you spoke about being evolving. Business evolve, and so you must evolve with the current situation. Otherwise, businesses will move ahead, and your business will still be dragging behind. So, for businesses to be at par, to be at par, you have to evolve. Find out what they are doing in the market. Find out what new realities that you like. You said you have to change the ambience. Also, the ambience. People want to come to a place where they feel relaxed, where they feel loved, where they feel, you know, peace.
Welcome.
Yeah, and welcome. So they come to sometimes people don't have businesses to do. They just want to stop by because that office when I get there, I think right or something just works out. So and you just find it that they just come and before you know it, you're talking business. Before you know it, Oh, they remember a friend who wants to buy a house. And that's how referral comes. And I
Yeah,
tell people, I say, one good business with a client will bring several business to you.
that's
So you
right.
want to leave a lasting, impression on your customers, on your there. They're actually the ones even marketing you. And one-to-one advertisements is actually the cheapest, and you get more people come on that rate. And again, giving commissions. I've heard people say, okay, if you refer people to me, a certain court comes to you. That's also a motivating factor. I don't know if you do that in your organization. I have, maybe somebody comes to you and say, I have like 3, 4 people who wants to buy a house. So what's my take? What's in it for me? Did you embrace that?
So unfortunately, we're unable to do that. The Real Estate Board of Commission, it's against it. We can only give a very low amount as gift to our clients, because if not, people are swayed to a different type of, to people who don't necessarily look out for your business. So real estate is about service. And our board of commission, once they give you a license, they trust that you're going to look out for that client's interest.
Yeah.
That should be paramount. But every time money comes in, it will just be, oh, I'll take this money and I'll give you whatever. Because then if you're taking a portion of that money,
You must
that
give account to them.
person's total interest and looking out for your best, it's not 100% anymore. So when they made that decision that there will be no commission given or sharing, it was for the consumer's best interest. Because then if you say, oh, you're going to give me 3 clients, what's your take? And I'm like, okay, I'll give you 2,000, 2,000, 2,000, whatever percentage I decide to give you. That means when that client comes, I would only want to work for the amount that I'm making, that's coming to my pocket. So if you're taking half of my commission, that means I pour about half of me into that work because somebody else is taking it. So the commission is the board of commission is extremely big on not sharing, and if anybody is found, they could be reported and they
They
could
could
lose their
revoke your
license.
license too.
Yes, so it's a big one. And when you look at it, when you go to the doctor's office, when you find a good doctor and you refer someone, say, "Oh, doctor, this is very good. Go there." You don't go to the doctor's office and say, "Hey, I refer this person to you. What do I get?" So
That's so true.
and it's not a surprise, or it's not strange that people will ask. And I said, I give you very good service. Trust me, what I'm giving you, it's more than what anybody will give you or what you will get back. So I make sure I do my best. I give it all. And when I give you my best, you're saving money because I'm negotiating your deal and making sure you're getting a good property. And because of the experience I have in this industry, I'm helping you make a decision that will profit you many years down the line. Almost all my clients, every client that I've suggested to do an investment anywhere, they've always called to say thank you. So that's the best we can give. But unfortunately, we're not allowed, even if we want to, give handouts. Now, if you're an other agent, if you're an agent in another state, I can give you what we call a referral fee. So if an agent from Florida says, "Hey, I have a client in Georgia, I would like you to work with her," I'll offer them a 25% referral fee. So that's allowed because we're going from one profession to another profession
Yeah, that's
in
true.
just interstate. Yes.
And that's because the person does not have the license to operate in that state. So it
Yes.
cannot be cross states, as in somebody coming from Maryland to Georgia to do business.
Or
So you have
no.
to, can you do that?
Well, you have to have a license to conduct business in wherever state you're coming to.
And that means you can't be in Maryland having a license to do that. Can you have multiple license?
Yes, you can.
Okay. And
Yeah.
that's what I
So
wanted to get.
yeah, so you can have multiple real estate licenses. So I used to have Florida, but then it took a lot to keep it up because we have to take continue ed classes. For me as a broker, every 4 years, to keep our license going. So it was just quicker, it was better and easier to just pay a referral fee to, I mean, get a
I think
referral fee
that's
for
better because you
Florida.
save money on overheads, having an office, getting to pay
Yes,
for the location, a
yes,
lot of more things. So
mhm,
rather, it's even better you have someone work for you and you pay a referral fee there.
yes. Hmm.
That's a great one. So I want to thank you for your time, and also I also want to find out when you had challenging moments, how did you weather the storm in, payment of staff, how did you fund the business? Because I know that that's during COVID, a lot of organization had that issue,
Yes.
and I know that government supported them. But beyond during COVID, there were times that business maybe didn't have much customers as expected. How did you weather the storm?
Okay, so faith. I'm a Christian and I'm a big believer in God and trust. So I do trust God. I know I say
Absolutely
his plans for me are of good and not of
not of
evil.
evil.
So that I
Agree.
remind myself when things are tough. So I know God is not going to leave me stranded.
Not at
Now,
all.
even though I know that, I go back and I do a little more research. Okay, what can I do? What's going on? So during COVID, COVID was great for us. It was an amazing, amazing time.
Moment.
COVID was an amazing time for us in the real estate industry. And it was such a competitive market. I know some of my colleagues won't say the same thing, but for me to get ahead in that market, an extremely competitive market, this was the period where you see a home for 600 and people will bid 680. They will pay $80,000 extra to get that home.
Mm.
That's what was going on. And each time I kept winning. And I will credit this to faith. I remember I prayed, I'm like, okay, God, this is getting really crazy. What do I do? And God gave me a technique. So He told me the strategy to use to get deals. I told my agent, and we were getting deals. I think by the following year, that strategy wasn't working anymore. So I'm like, okay, God, what's happening? This is not working. And I got another one. And that strategy was what I used. So being able to weather the storm, I credit it to my faith and hard work. So even though things are a bit difficult, I don't give up. So I keep trying and trying to see, okay, how can I make this better? Should I try this strategy or try another strategy to make it work? But yeah, somehow God just gets us out or gets me
Mhm.
out. So yeah,
Awesome. You rightly said it. You have to be connected to God because beyond that, you never know when you'll be downtown, torn
yes,
in the business. Business can be so great this last 5, 6, 7 months, and you don't know what is lying, ahead, in the corner. Maybe 7, 8 months the business. So you need that extra power. You need that God factor. Who is able to see. Who has a better plan for you to be able to run to as the God. And like you rightly said, the strategy of this year might not work for next year. And so
yes,
you must be connected. And in
and
connection,
save.
you get revelation for the
Yes,
next year, even the next month. What people would normally would think, oh, this is the way we do business. But when you get the answer from God, it's like you are seeing the answers before the problem comes. So you
yes.
already know what is going on. So you'll be so confident in doing business because while others are complaining, you are there, praising God. And you spoke about, staying power, not
Oh,
giving in.
before you move on, I
Yeah.
forgot to mention something. So, it's good to pray, and I don't want people to forget that. It's also very good to be prudent, save, prudent, always have investments and have liquid cash. So this was what I learned during the 2008. Lima Brother was a very big company, but all their assets were mostly in real estate. So when the real estate crashed, it was hard for them to sell. They were selling below market value, and
Wow.
that's how Lehman Brothers went under. Now,
Wow.
the one thing I learned from that experience is the fact that no matter whatever investment you have, you should always have some kind of cash,
Liquid.
liquid cash, easy access to cash somewhere. So when there's a downturn, you have that tiny little cash around or investments to kind of fall back on. And of course, number one is God. So I talk about God and I forget the rest. But you have to have the God and you have to be prudent. Do not spend all your profit and say, oh, it's coming. Like I said, we had a blast during the pandemic period. If you spend all your money, you're going to be broke now. So,
And that's true. Being prudent, Like I always tell people, I said delay gratification for future enjoyment. Whatever you think you're missing out now, there is a future that you need to also spend for. And you
yes,
never want to know, you never want to get into a situation where things will not work in the future and you don't have any savings anywhere. So if you had saved well, if you were prudent, then there will be liquid cash for you to spend at that time. And like you rightly said, having liquid cash when houses were falling, you can afford to buy at those prices. And when the prices, skyrocketed, you could have
you could
also
say,
sold and make good margin. So,
yes,
like you rightly said, be prudent. Having a staying power too and hard work. Hard work will always pay. Even when you have God, if there is no hard work. He said,
girl,
faith without works is dead. So
yes.
having God does not mean you should go lie down and just wait for money to fall on your lap. It will not fall. Even in Freetown, I'm told that you don't even get anything free in Freetown. So you have to
No,
go and work. You want to say something?
no, I was just laughing even in free time, free
Yeah,
time. There's
you don't
no
have
free.
anything free. I think even in this side of the world, it's a capitalist economy. You've got to work, and they said a laborer is worthy of his wages.
Yes,
So you've got to be on the field. As much as you trust God, there must be a backing power. There must be an action backing what you believe or what you're saying, and being prudent, like you rightly said, having to make sure that every money you have is not in real estate, having liquid cash, like you rightly said.
yes.
When things went bad in the real estate, people were selling below price. That's the time, even in stock markets, you have
Mm-hmm.
liquid cash. When things fall then and the prices are quite cheap, you can as well accumulate and acquire more properties. And when the prices, start looking good, you can afford to sell one or two to get some liquid cash ready for another boom. So,
Yes.
like you rightly said, doing things rightly and apportioning things the way they ought to be. And I think before we call it today, I'd like to just find out if there are any questions on the comment section. Okay, Deborah is here. Let me just read some of the questions I may have before we go further. Deborah says, "This is really valuable information. Same, I have heard before, but I'm sure you can read it. Like this
Oh,
particular
yes.
insight on starting a business, especially how to be global and not giving up when things get tough." And that's true.
Yeah.
She also said, "So true. You have to have something for God to bless. Your hands, you must be busy." And that's right, true.
Mm-hmm.
I think Emmanuel said, well said, Dolapo, being prudent. Prudency is the key, in saving what you got. And beyond prudency, too, you also need to invest the money. Because some people have cash and they leave it in the bank. Of course, the bank does not give anything less than 0.01%. So putting money in the bank is, is another means of losing the money because you don't have inflation would override that money. So investing in other investment vehicles that can give you some returns on your money. So that, and again, having it in liquid, such that when you need the money, you will not be told to wait for 90 days or 120 days to get your money. So there are also investment vehicles that are liquid too. There are, bonds and the rest, such that you can get them within 24 hours if you make a request. So rather than just leaving the money in the accounts and the money is not yielding anything for you, inflation will overtake the money. Like you rightly said, that prudence is the key to business. We have people who made money and they thought that was the time to buy things and squander money. And when things went bad, they couldn't stay in business. And a lot of companies fold. Like you rightly said, the other company you mentioned, they have everything in real estate. So because they sold you can imagine buying a property at a very exorbitant price. And this time around, you need liquid cash. And you have to sell them below the prices you bought them, just because you needed cash to do some
Mm-hmm.
things. And in so doing, if you're not careful, you lose the capital itself of starting a
Oh,
business.
yes.
So going back into the business becomes difficult, and even doing another business becomes difficult. And that's, like you rightly said again, mentioning staying power. There will be tough times. How you able to persevere? in doing the business so that you don't give in or throw in the towel. I want to thank you for your time. I also want to appreciate, in the absence of no, okay, Juliet is online, so let me read. She said something. What
Mhm.
happens to a business struggling with leadership issues and the investors are not ready to plow or inject funds and staff needs to be remunerated? What do you do at such time? That's a question for you.
Okay, so the first thing, I mean, you've already said it, that issue with leadership. Now, I don't know if you're asking the question as an owner or someone who is observing leadership. But if it's an owner, then you have to reevaluate the staff that you work with. Because if I'm an investor and I don't see positive strive in a business, I'm not going to keep putting money in it. So something would have to give, and that would be the leadership. So depending on who is asking me the question, if this is your company, then it's time to start reevaluating, do an assessment, hire new people, have them trained. And remember, if you have that good system and process it, you won't have a problem getting new people aboard. But if you don't have a good system and process in place, you your staff, your current staff will feel indispensable. I tell people no one is indispensable.
Yeah.
So if there's a bad leader, or if you're going through a bad leadership, that means they feel they're indispensable, and it's time to find another set of
Yeah.
people.
It's time to let them go and
Yes.
breathe a fresh air. That's it. Allowing them to go. But sometimes people feel that they're indispensable, like you rightly said. And when you see things not working out the way they ought to, you need to reshuffle. You need to, sit there and look inward, find out what is not working, find out if it's the staff, find out if it's a leadership issue, and see who you need to let go. You need to cut your costs,
Yeah.
and like rightly, when I was in sales, I also had that experience when, I think that period we had Jonathan period. Most blue chip company they want to invest in Nigeria's economy.
Mhm.
I was managing accounts like Ericsson, MTN, and most of their buildings were rented, such that capital expenditure was not they were not investing much on anything capital intensive. They were just managing to see what the business or economy was saying. And at such time, most businesses did not, even Qatar Air, they knew they needed software, but they could not buy anything because they wanted to know where the economy was going. So rather than using your liquid cash and invest on a capital intensive thing, and your business is not booming, it will be a loss for the company. So for such company, you might want to go back again to your structure and check. And that's why you rightly said having a system in place such that when you get new staff, it is easy for them to hit the road running because there's a system in place. The other question says, when is the best time to buy real estate? Is there the best time, a good time to buy real estate?
So now it's always the best time when you have the money, the funds to purchase. It's a good time to buy real estate. So there's never wait till later, because real estate continue to grow. And in this economy, what we have, I've heard people say, oh, it's going to crash, it's going to fall. I'm sorry, it's not going to. What is happening in our real estate market is that our market is stabilizing. The craziness that we experienced the last 3 years, it's just it wasn't sustainable, and it's never going to be sustainable past a few number of years. So now it's a good time to buy real estate. If you buy now, your profit margin won't be 25% next year, but it will be 5%. So if you wait to buy, by next year there will already be an increase of at least 3 to 5% to that price. Now, of course, because of the interest rate, people are a bit skeptical. They wait around it. So if you buy now, you can refinance later. So if you buy a property for, let's say, 480 right now, by next year we expect it to be at least 500. So if you say, "Oh, I'm going to wait till interest rate goes down," then you'll be buying it at a higher price. And this time around, there will probably be a rush. We're going to experience that rush because a lot of people who didn't buy when the interest rates were low, they're waiting for the interest rate to go lower. And once that interest rate hits the market, I can't wait to see the type of rush we're going to see again, because
True.
people are priced out. So people who could afford a 300,000 home on a 4% interest rate can't buy it at a 6 or 7% interest rate. They just can't afford it. So imagine if the interest rate were to go to 5%, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to come out running, and then we start bidding that bidding war. But I say it's always the right time to buy real estate if you can afford it, because real estate will always grow in value.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And I also want to appreciate our viewers. The questions were mind blowing. Thank you for staying put with us. And also thank you, our guest, who has taken us into a deeper dive into real estate and starting a business. What to do, how to start the business, how to keep it simple, ensuring you take your feasibility studies, having a business plan, and you actually demystify the business plan, because every time people hear business plan, oh my God, it's a write up. And if you're lazy in writing, you run away from doing a business. So, like you rightly said, it's just a one-pager document. So you made it so easy that with one pager, I can have everything written out. That's awesome. I also want to thank you so much. We appreciate you. And before we call it a day, how did you, now the business is doing well? Like, I know the business is doing well for you. So what's your plan? Like, I know you mentioned earlier you want to diversify. What's the plan in the next 2, 3, 4 years? What's your advice for businesses too, as they make money? What should they do? As we call it a day.
Okay. So the plan for Leaders Realty, of course, like we said, exceeding expectations, building on our excellent service, and just trying to ensure that the business runs without me.
Yeah.
God forbid anything happens, but without me, and be able to branch out to another country. So that's the goal. So 2, 3 years, we want to be in at least 2 or 3 other countries. So that's the goal for
Awesome.
now.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And before we call it today, should you want to reach the Dolapo, you might want to check her out. You want to leave your social media page on the comment section so I can show it. So while you're
Yes.
doing that, let me just post our information page.
Okay. Okay. So I'll leave my information on the comment section.
Yes, but you can say it too. For those who are here, you can take a pen and
Okay,
write it down.
so that's true. So once again, it's Dolapo Christy Akinropo with Leaders Realty, and you can reach me via my phone, which is 678-558-4025, or if you go to our website, all our information will be there, which is www.myleadersrealty.com. So that's MY Leaders, Leaders, Realty, REALTY.com. I know some people put LI, but it's LTY.com.
Okay.
And then all our information are on that website. So,
And also, if you find it difficult to reach her, you can get to me. I'll be able to give you details also. Thank you so much, and do have a blessed evening.
thank
Bye.
you. Bye. Have a good one.